and you will be live now.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the next episode in our third series of our Share and Learn programme for the Nottingham City Place-Based Partnership, the programme where we invite speakers to come along and talk about some of the programmes of work that we're doing here in the Nottingham City Place-Based Partnership. And today I'm delighted to be joined by colleagues from our Care Leavers programme. So we've got our programme manager, which is Lorraine Sudlow, Mary-Ann Cosgrove, who's our programme lead, and then we've got three of our colleagues from the City Council's Care Leavers team as well. So they're going to talk to you a bit about the programme that's been running for about 2 years now, actually, in the Place-Based Partnership. So I'm going to hand over to them in just a second, but just to remind you, we're going to have about a 20-minute presentation and then about 10 minutes for questions at the end. So if you can post your questions in the Q&A chat box that you'll see up at the top of your screen, then I can pose those questions over to the team afterwards. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Lorraine. Over to you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so next slide then, please. So as Rich says, we're looking at the Care Leavers pathway. I probably should have put that on the first screen there. So we're looking at young people become care leavers from the age of 18, but we're really looking at sort of at least from 16, sort of that pathway as they start to transition to leaving care. So these are the three areas that we're focused on: mental health, accommodation and positive destinations. So within positive destinations, we're looking at education, employment and training, but we're also looking at that pathway that young parents experience. So care experience young parents, we're also looking at the experience they have. What we decided was we couldn't just focus on one, we needed to look at the journey holistically, really, and hopefully by having all three areas, then we're doing that. So next slide, please. So this is just, you're not going to be able to read all this, but it's just a flavour of who's been involved in supporting us to get to where we are now and to agree on what our future steps are. So we have three separate work streams for each of the areas: mental health, positive destinations and accommodation. But what we also do is we meet regularly together so that we're sort of sharing that across the board. So we're all getting a sense of what we're looking at. So mental health, the Integrated Care Board have been really involved in that, the Healthcare Trust, the CAMS team, City Care Partnership, Mental Health Foundation, they're all involved within that work stream. Positive destinations, as you can see, I think the main people who've been involved have been Futures, the two universities in Nottingham, Nottingham College. Obviously, the Leaving Care team is very heavily involved in all that. And we do have a care experience young person who's involved in that work stream too, in helping us shape what we've done. We've also got the virtual school, the independent reviewing officers team, and also DWP actually, which has been really beneficial. Accommodation wise for that work stream, we've got Nottingham City Homes, as well as the Nottingham City Council and ourselves involved in that. So next slide, please. I suppose just really wanted to flag up why Barnardo's are involved in this. We were left, Barnardo's was left a significant legacy by a supporter. And the only conditions we had in relation to that legacy were that we use the funds within Nottingham City Council area or Nottinghamshire County, and it was to benefit children and young people. There were no other stipulations. But what we did do was we, after doing a lot of research and looking at our own sort of key priority areas, we agreed to work with care experience young people in Nottingham City, which is hence this partnership arrangement that we're talking about now. Okay, next slide, please. So just under mental health, so next slide, please. We are in the process of setting up a befriending service. And And I suppose the aim of that service is to really pair a care experienced young person with a volunteer. Care experienced young people will often say how important it is to have someone in their life who isn't paid to be there. It can be a really important thing for them. And the aim of this service really is to support young people as they leave care and become more independent. But there's a real focus on trying to reduce isolation and potentially escalation to statutory mental health services. So we've set this up, Bernardo's have set this up alongside Nottingham City Council. The volunteers will support 16 to 25-year-olds and basically within reason, it's what sort of support the young person wants. It could be decorating the flat, it could be going to a football match, it really could be whatever that young person wants. So we've got currently 14 volunteers who are going through the pre-employment checks. We've got 3 who are cleared for us to start matching with young people. And we are starting to receive referrals for young people for this service. Fingers crossed, we're hoping we potentially have a match just this morning, a volunteer and potentially a young person. We're going to look at getting them to meet to see whether that can go ahead. Okay, so I think it's over to Samia.
Thank you. So one of the other projects that has been developed through the mental health workstream is the You Know Your Mind programme, and the purpose of this project, it will kind of support children in care and care leavers across Nottingham City to access personal budgets that will support them with their emotional well-being and their mental health. So the whole ethos behind it is that young people are empowered to have some agency in how their mental health is best supported. So the programme's going to be administered by the social care teams, leaving care teams, personal advisors, social workers who already have relationships with those children in care and young people who've left care. But essentially it will be centred around what the young person wants in terms of what feels they need in respect to their mental health. It's centred around a personal budget, which allowed the young person to access that and have a personal development plan about how that money is spent. So in order to have the best kind of use of that money and to make sure that, I guess, young people are facilitating the best way to be supported around their mental health, the leaving care teams and the social work teams are going to be undertaking some training called A Different Conversation, which will help them facilitate those conversations with young people and really get the best use of those personal budgets. The training, we're aspiring for that to be delivered in around September, October time this year, with 2 sets of training, firstly for the leaving care teams and then expanding that out to social workers, etc., towards the back end of this year. And that money, essentially, said it's very much led by what young people want to be using it for and how they feel their mental health is best supported. So that could be to access specific activities. It could be to purchase some equipment the young person might need to, that they feel would really benefit their mental health, particularly if they're isolated or wanting to access something that maybe their peers also engage in as well. So it can be really, really flexible, and it just gives that opportunity for young people to have a lot of control over how they're supported. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I think I've gone one ahead there, too many, sorry. I thought there was another slide after that one. But in terms of, oh, sorry, Lorraine, are we going on to the next step? There it is, sorry, it's not come up on my screen. Brilliant, Thank you. So in terms of the next steps around the mental health work that we're currently undertaking, we are in the process of recruiting 2 mental health practitioners who will be directly embedded within the leaving care team, and the purpose of that will be they can provide that one-to-one intervention and support for care leavers and with their mental health and emotional well-being. So these practitioners are going to be sitting within the leaving care service. They'll be employed by Bernardo's, but be directly accessible to our leaving care team PAs and young people. They'll bring that specialist in-house support and be clinically trained to deliver like a wide range of interventions, and that might include counselling with young people, group work, and also consultation for personal advisors to guide and support their practice with young people as well. So the core benefit of this is that we have, our young people will have access to flexible and responsive and bespoke mental health support, because often some of the challenges that young people face when trying to access mental health support post 18 is, long waiting lists for services, not having the right kind of services available to them because they don't meet the thresholds. So this will allow the support to be more bespoke and take into account young people's specific needs and be almost instantly available at the times they need it most. So I'll hand over to Lynn for the next slide.
Oh, I think it's me actually.
Oh, sorry, Lorraine.
That's fine, don't worry, that's fine. So we're going to move on to the accommodation work stream. Thank you. So right, okay, so first of all, I'm just going to talk a little bit about supported lodgings, which is another new service that we've set up in Barnardo's alongside Nottingham City Council. And this is working specifically with 16 to 21-year-old care experienced young people and also unaccompanied asylum seeking young people. So we're looking at both those client groups in relation to this. So what supported lodgings is basically individuals, we call them hosts, provide safe accommodation within their own home. So they've got, they provide a bedroom for the young person, and they also provide that support towards independent living. So it's a safe environment for the young person to learn those new skills. So what we are actually doing is we're recruiting, we recruit, we train, and we provide that ongoing support to hosts. Particularly when there's a young person in placement, and we work really closely with Nottingham City Council in sort of matching the right young person to the right host. Some of our hosts have had specific training around working with unaccompanied asylum seekers, so they can provide sort of a specialist placement really for those particular young people. So at the moment, we've got 10 approved hosts. We are looking to increase that up to sort of about 20 longer term, and we're working towards that. We've got a number of applications which are currently ongoing. And we've got 4 young people who are currently supported in the service, with a further young person who's due to move in with a host next month, which is really positive. Our hosts are from all different backgrounds. We've advertised to try and reach individuals from different backgrounds and different communities, whether that be different ethnic communities, different LGBT communities, just to really get to try and meet the needs of the young people that we're supporting. Okay, next slide, thank you. Over to Lynn. Oh, Lynn, you're on mute.
Just to further the accommodation steps within the Leaving Care Service, apart from the good work we're doing around the supported lodgings with Barnardo's, and the fantastic work we do alongside Nottingham City Homes who support care leavers as well. We've accessed some levelling up money, which will help provide a worker which will work alongside our young people that may be at risk of eviction from their own properties. So they are going to work alongside our 18 to 25-year-olds to ensure eviction is not an option, and working alongside a lot of other housing providers where we can build better relationships to support our care leavers right through to their to when they're 25. Where we're going to work more closely again with Barnardo's is we've accessing some staying close money, which we are going to fund a worker to support young people that are leaving care to move into their own flats, to provide intense support as they move in, to support them with their bills and setting up their flats to ensure that they're keeping up with the things they need to keep up with to prevent, again, eviction. And hopefully Barnardo's will be able to match fund that, so we will have 2 workers to work across our care leavers as they move on.
Thank you.
Next slide, please.
Thank you. So next slide as well. So we'll look at the positive destinations work stream. I'm just going to talk about a couple of things that we've got going on here. So the first one is the Aspiration Champion Network. And the clue is probably in the title. It is about trying to raise aspirations for young people in care. And I think because we're looking at this, and it's probably a bit of a long-term thing, we did decide that we needed to look at younger children in care for this one. So this is actually working with children, well, young people from the age of 14 right through to 24. So what this involves is a young person being matched with an aspiration champion who can basically provide that mentoring support for education, career pathway. So it could be to encourage attendance at university. It could be just getting young people in care to see that there's maybe other opportunities that are available for them. So it is about bespoke one-to-one support, and again, these are volunteers. Our aspiration champions are all volunteers, and I think that aspect is really key, that again, it's somebody who isn't paid to be with them. It's someone who wants to give up some time and is genuinely interested in them. So I think, you know, it's about a young person having access to the aspiration champions knowledge, experience, but also about their contact list in the same way as a parent would look for support from friends or relatives for their own child. A child in care often doesn't have that extended network around them, so it is very much around accessing that as well. It's not there to replace the careers advice that young people already receive, but it's about trying to enhance that. So next slide, please. So Lynn.
Thank you. To run alongside, I think we need to change the slide, please. Oh, thank you. To run alongside the transition towards independent living. Oh, sorry, we've gone one too far now. Sorry. Thank you. To run alongside the transitioning from leaving care to becoming a care leaver, Bernardo is also funded for staff to do training in ASDAN independent living courses. So this is a course which will prepare a young person for independent living. So it covers all aspects of keeping track of money, financial choices, making choices in where they want to live, being healthy, in their cooking skills, around their career management and preparing for work. So this is a certificated course where they complete a booklet with support of staff in residential care. We're now piloting this at the moment within our internal residential small group homes and our semi-independent accommodation. And we're hoping that all our young people will be able to take these certificates and their evidence to their housing meetings. So it will show that Nottingham City Homes that they are fully prepared for moving on and being able to maintain their properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, so just next steps for positive destinations. We are looking at a proposal for legacy funding to embed a tutor within the leaving care service. So that again would be about providing one-to-one support for a young person potentially who is unable to access mainstream opportunities, and that might be because of a lack of confidence, or it may just be that from a risk assessment point of view that's not appropriate. So we're really looking at the early entry level qualifications right up until sort of level 2. Saika, I don't know whether you just want to add something around that. Or you're on mute, sorry.
Thank you, Lorraine. So the main focus is for our low-level learners, and that includes young parents as well and young people who have got disabilities. So it's mostly based around with home working. So we are supporting our young people with equipment such as, for example, like laptops, so they can access the functional skills course, and it will be accredited learning.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, so next slide, please. So just really briefly, just gives you a flavour of some of the ways that care experience young people have been involved in developing what we're doing at the moment and our next steps. So like I say, we've got care experience young person who's involved in one of the work streams. We've got care experience young person employed within Bernardo's. You know, they're both also part of the supported lodgings panel in approving hosts, which is really important. And we've had a lot of feedback, obviously, through the young people in the leaving care team within Nottingham City. Right, I'm conscious of the time, so if you just want to move on to the next step, and I think it's just really whether there's any questions.
That's brilliant. Thank you to Lorraine, Lynn, Saika and Samir for that presentation. Really comprehensive and so much work underway within the particular programme. Just a reminder to everyone, if you've got any particular questions you'd like for the team to answer, just to post them in the Q&A section of the chat. But we'll start off with a question that's come in from Claire, and Claire remarks that there's brilliant work happening within this programme, and wondered if you were linked into the social prescribing teams that sit within our primary care networks in the city. And she also asks if you're linked with the Canals and Rivers Trusts, who are doing lots of bespoke wellbeing sessions for specific cohorts of people as well. So that might be an opportunity for the care leavers. They also do offer career opportunities as well through the Kickstarter programme. I can see you all scribbling that down as we speak, which might indicate some links to be made there. So yeah, just a couple of reflections from you on that, please.
No, at the moment we're not. So as Rich says, we're busy writing it down because I think they would be really useful links to make. The social prescribing, and was it, sorry, the Canal and River Trust? Yep,
that's right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, they're on our list to get in touch with. Thank you.
We'll make those links after this, Lorraine. So thank you, Claire, for highlighting that. That's great. Okay, so another question, so the general question then, I mean, this presentation was a really big partnership effort, and I guess what I'm interested to know a little bit more about of what it's been like working with such a broad range of partners. In your first couple of slides, Lorraine, you showed the number of different organisations that have been involved within your work. So I just wonder if get your reflections, Lorraine, perhaps from Bernardo's perspective, and then also colleagues from the council about what it's been like working across such a broad range of partners.
Yeah, I suppose from our point of view, I would be lying if I said it wasn't without challenges, because you know, it naturally can be, and I think sometimes getting that consistent support, because what we're looking for from partners is really, it's above and beyond their day job. And you know, I think, you know, we all know COVID caused a lot of issues in the sense of priorities changed and everything, but I think the commitment that we've seen throughout has been absolutely amazing. You know, it really feels like we've all got the, you know, I suppose the right outcome in mind, about, you know, improving that pathway for young people in care. So no, there has been challenges, but I think it's really helped us to look at what we can achieve together, because I think what's clear is, you know, we've not done it on our own. Nottingham City Council haven't done it on their own. It really has been a joint effort, and I think, you know, I think longer term, if we're looking at sustainability of these services, because, you know, the legacy money won't last forever, it's really key to get those partners, I suppose, committed and involved now. So yeah, I think that's probably what I would say in relation to that.
That's great. Thanks, Lynn. Mary-Ann, Lynn, Samir, Saika?
I think it was an amazing opportunity, and I joined a local authority just under a year ago, and I've not really come across anything like this. And Rich, you know, it took me a bit of time to get my head around it and see how it worked, but it's really inspirational, because all the people who are sitting around the table really care, and we know it will have impact. And even though they're all incredibly busy, they know this was something to prioritise. I mean, Lorraine's been amazing at coordinating us and corralling us and keeping us on track. But also, the teams, Lynn and Samir and their teams, they're really little teams with large caseloads, and yet they knew this was something that could make a real difference. So I think it's holding on to that. And having the funding, which, you know, Rich, you were part of helping us find, you know, in your previous role, you know, having that funding has made an enormous difference. But it is about sustainability now, isn't it, Lorraine? And really building on those relationships and on what we learn and really embedding it. But it's been a really well-tempered and understanding and open and respectful relationships that we built through this work. So there are advantages not just for this work, but for other parts of our work.
Yeah, I would just agree with that. I think what's been really positive is the links that we've made in addition to what we've achieved through this, you know, just around different courses, different opportunities. So I think, yeah, that's been really important too. And I do think that's really benefited the young people that we're all working with, to be honest.
Definitely. And I think just to add, from the perspective of myself and Lynn in the Leaving Care team, obviously we had these discussions around the aspirations we have for our young people, etc. But I think particularly, for example, like the mental health work that we're doing, and we recognise what the gaps are. We see it, you know, on a daily basis with when we're doing case supervision with young people, with our personal advisors, and the challenges they're coming across. But we've never really had the kind of mechanism to kind of address those kind of issues on a wider scale. So this partnership, I think, has brought the right people around the table, and has really kind of, we're seeing such quick progress now in terms of addressing some of those things that we've struggled with for a very long time, which has been really, really beneficial.
That's great.
I'd like to
go on, Lynn.
Sorry, I would just like to add as well that we've really looked into this very close. We've worked with the frontline staff, we've worked with our young people. We want to make sure we've got it right. And it's right for the young people, and it's not just something that we feel is right for them. So we've done a lot of work with our young people as well to make sure we're listening to what they're saying and what kind of support they'd like as well. So, you know, like I said, we're hoping this is going to carry on for a long time, and it's going to be something that's going to be beneficial to our young people going forward for a long, long time.
Fantastic. That's great. Some great reflections from everyone there. There's another question coming through. So a comment from saying some really good work happening across the city by everyone involved. So yeah, so lots of agreement with what you've just been saying on that. Another question that's come in has been a bit about what's it been like for care leavers during the pandemic, and you know, what's been the real differences, I guess, for the experiences of care leavers during the pandemic, and how do you think we can support them coming out of the pandemic?
I think Samir and Lynn are best placed answers, but before we do, we've also got the cost of living crisis now as well. So I think there's the impact on COVID, which will be for many, many years to come. You know, it wasn't just at the time the isolation, but now also, you know, the economic impact, the opportunity impact, and the long-term confidence, you know. But Samir and Lynn can tell you a bit more, I think, and Saika about how to really impact.
Do you want to go first, Samir, or?
Sorry, after you.
Okay. I think the impact of lockdown was very different for a lot of care leavers, but it did cause even more isolation than what they normally have. A lot of young people did struggle a lot with the isolation, and you know, just trying to keep contact. A lot of PAs just keeping contact with them on a regular basis to make sure that they had somebody there to talk to. and we had a small project with another organisation who provided them with some stuff to do at home. So we had packs where they could sort of get involved in just to keep themselves active with things during the daytime. But it's been very hard, and actually it's having an effect coming out of it as well, because of they've been in isolation for so long. It's now turning that around again, and everything's been opening up quite slowly, so we're back into, you know, full swing of trying to re-engage some young people back into things, but to be fair, we're getting there, and a lot of them are getting involved again through work with Psycho around their eats, looking for new opportunities, and again, you know, they're back at college, so things are improving for them, but I think it was difficult for staff as well, you know, not actually being able to go out and sort of see young people as regular, or, you know, at the very beginning anyway, just, you know, more doorstep type conversations rather than going in, because if young people had COVID. But we also did a lot of supporting by helping them do their shopping if they had COVID, so we'd go out and get their shopping for them, because again, a lot of them haven't got parents for them to go out and do that for them. So we supported them the best way we could, really, through the whole thing. And you know, yeah.
And then just to touch on, obviously, some of the additional, I mean, the challenges have still gone on with the cost of living crisis, as Marianne just mentioned as well. And as a service, you know, we're doing quite a lot to try to support our young people through this really difficult time at the moment. So we've, you know, we're accessing the household support grant for a lot of our young people. We've had a significant amount of support that we've been able to help our young people, particularly those living independently and struggling with their utilities and food. Those young people who are, you know, on universal credit and waiting for payment when they first make their claim. We're providing additional support with supermarket vouchers, and then making sure that no young person is, you know, struggling to make those ends meet. And it's an ongoing challenge. Obviously, but we're doing a lot as we can as a service to try and support our young people through that kind of, it's really kind of difficult period, which is going to obviously get a little bit more difficult as we enter this winter as well, with the price cap increase as well. But it's been a challenge. We say the last 2-3 years, I think, has been probably put a significant strain on a lot of our young people, and a lot of pressure on young people, particularly those who do live independently as well. So as a service, we're constantly looking at ways that we can support our young people a lot better. We've kind of, some of the kind of smaller, softer examples will be, we're working with a charity now called My Bag, who are producing kind of care packages for our young people when they move into their accommodation for the first time, and just little things to kind of reduce that isolation, to just that increase that kind of human contact, I guess, as well, of our young people, that, you know, that they would not necessarily have, you know, without having a big support network. So the work that we've kind of discussed today, things like the befriending scheme, these are projects that we're really looking forward to kind of making sure that we get the best kind of maximum use out of, and for want of a better phrase, for our young people, because it's about expanding their support networks and making sure that, you know, we can come off the back of the pandemic in particular in a really positive way.
That's great, thank you, and thank you all for your responses to those questions. We're just about out of time now, so thank you all for your presentation this afternoon, and for talking to us about the great work, and thanks to everybody who's tuned in today and posed the questions to the team. I believe we've got a next session coming up in August, so keep an eye out on our social media for the next Share and Learn session. But until now, see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.